Smaulgld.
Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Saturday, May 11th, 2019, and tonight's topic is peace dollars, silver certificates, and JFK. Hello and welcome to Saturday Night Silver with Smaulgld, where we talk only about silver on Saturday night. We leave the gold, the cryptos, the trade wars, the Federal Reserve, and other news behind, and we discuss just silver. Tonight we're going to talk about peace dollars, and we're going to do a bit of an overview of silver in the 19th and 20th centuries. And also, we're going to give some of the area short shrift because we've done more fuller YouTubes on some of these topics like silver confiscation and different the silver cross. I mean the cross of gold. We talked about when William Jennings Bryan tried to bring the silver Democrats to power and bring back free silver. Anyway, we're not going to get into all those. We'll mention those in passing. If you're interested in a fuller history of silver, check out the Smaulgld History of Silver tab in the YouTube playlists. So if you go to Smaulgld YouTube channel, the playlist will be History of Silver, and you'll see a large number of in-depth portions of silver's history, from silver confiscation to William Jennings Bryan to there's also going back to the Roman Empire, the first Silver Empire, the last Silver Empire. So check that out. But now we're going to talk about, the reason I want to talk about this is a subscriber sent to me, what did he send here? Well, he sent a silver certificate to me, and it got me realizing we haven't really covered silver certificates at all. And he also sent me a U.S. note, those red seal notes, and if you don't know what they are, we're going to go through and I'm going to explain what red seal notes are, silver certificates, what they have to do with John F. Kennedy. All right, let me show you what I received in the mail at that Smaulgld P.O. box. Some very nice things come my way. So I received these two guys. I also got a $5 bill as a donation, which I can spend, which was nice. These are now collectibles that I have here. You're seeing a silver certificate, a $1 silver certificate, and the date on that one, you can't see it. That's a series 1957. So this is the type, I'm holding it right now, the type of silver certificate that you could bring to the bank, and the bank would give you a silver dollar. Hence, we're going to talk about peace dollars and Morgan dollars and eventually JFK. And then there were these other U.S. notes. If you look at the top above Jefferson's head, it says United States note. It's hard to read. It's even hard to read on the actual. The picture's not bad. It just, you can't see that. Now, a U.S. note, if you note, that's different than a Federal Reserve note. We're going to explain what that is. So these two gifts that were sent to me prompted me to want to go a little bit further into silver certificates and the different types of notes that we have. All right, so let's discuss what the different types are, and then we're going to get into how this all relates to the Morgan silver dollars, the peace silver dollars, and eventually John F. Kennedy. So we used to have these we've had Federal Reserve notes since 1913, and most people know what a Federal Reserve note is because that's what we use today. What's circulating today are Federal Reserve notes. They are legal tender. There's no point in showing you one. They should be in your wallet. You've seen them. And they are issued by the Federal Reserve. They are not obligations of the United States government the way the U.S. Mint issues pennies, dimes, nickels, quarters. They don't issue half dollars anymore, and they don't issue silver dollars anymore. Now, there's a myth out there that John Kennedy was shot, and there's lots of reasons why people say John Kennedy was shot, but this one doesn't make any sense, but this doesn't stop people from repeating it, because once people cotton on to an idea, they get emotionally charged about it, and then they say the Fed killed Kennedy. Now, the interesting thing about that theory is it's the exact opposite. Kennedy was working with the Fed. They had no reason to want to kill him because he actually favored the demonetization of those silver certificates for the express purpose of replacing them with with Federal Reserve notes. So he was clear on that. He was not working against the Fed. All the other theories about John Kennedy, who might have killed John Kennedy, you can find motive. You can say, well, the CIA had a bone to pick with him because he turned down their Bay of Pigs plan. You could say the Mafia had a bone to pick with him because he had Bobby Kennedy go after a lot of mobsters. You can say it was Lyndon Johnson because he wanted to be president. You can come up with a lot of people with motives. That doesn't mean they did it, but at least you can say there's a motive. When people say that Kennedy challenged the Fed, it's not even true. And we're going to see how Kennedy actually was working with the Fed. And some people think this is blasphemy, like, how could John Kennedy support the Fed? Well, if you want to hold him in a higher esteem, I'll tell you why. John Kennedy was famous for saying in cabinet meetings when they talked about monetary policy or fiscal policy, he used to say which one is which. He really wasn't that switched on to economic issues. However, he did say at the time, and he worked on it, he wasn't, maybe it was his economic advisors, but he mouthed a lot of words that were not favorable to silver, and he actively worked towards demonetizing them. He said in January 1963, I again urge a revision in our civil policy to reflect the status of silver as a metal for which there is an expanding industrial demand. Except for its use in coins, silver serves no useful monetary function. Now, there you go. So he's saying that, look, silver is good for coins. It should not be backing anything. And this was one of the first Democrats to ever turn its back on silver, because the reason you had the silver Democrats in the late 19th century was they liked the concept of free silver. They viewed it as inflationary because there were a lot of silver mines in the United States. Nevada was a silver state. You could bring that silver to the mint and they would mint it into coins for you worth $1. Even if the silver price was 25 cents, 18 cents, or whatever it was, you get $1. And that was a way of increasing the money supply. And that's what the Democrats wanted, because their constituents were debt holders. They wanted to inflate their debts away, so they liked the idea of free silver. The Republicans were the wealthy East Coast people. It's interesting. It had the East Coast elite. They had the assets. They wanted a gold standard. They did not want inflation eating away the value of their assets. So when Kennedy decided that silver should not be a monetary metal, he was taking a very practical point of view, that it's good for coins and so on, but we don't need it for money. And he then said, at his direction, he wanted to suspend sales of silver. And he said what he wanted to do was authorize the Federal Reserve System to issue notes in denominations of $1 so as to make possible the gradual withdrawal of those silver certificates from circulation, and then release the silver that they had that were backing those silver certificates for coinage. And he asked Congress to do that. Now, it's a Democrat doing that. And in 1963, in June, Congress agreed to do so. And that was effectively the final straw just before they took the silver out of the coins of demonetization of silver. Silver had already been really demonetized by the crime of 1863, where they just basically passed that silver would not be part of the monetary system. But then in 1878, I believe, as kind of an accommodation, because there was still a powerful silver Democrat lobby, they passed the Bland-Allison Act in, February 1878. And what that allowed was for the printing of silver dollars once again. Silver dollars had been, after 1873, they stopped making them. They stopped with the Liberty-seated silver dollars, and they figured, well, we don't need any more of these silver dollars. Now, they did make silver dollars called trade dollars from 1873 to 1885. I don't have a picture of one, but they weren't for use in the United States. They were to settle international trade. They weren't to be circulated in the United States. So the gold lobby had clearly won, and they had kicked silver out of the system in 1873. But by before 1857, these guys, pieces of 8, were circulating silver in the United States. So you went from having foreign silver circulating to silver being part of the bimetallic standard to 1873, and they said goodbye silver. And then you had this Gland Silver Act in 1878 to bring back the silver dollar, and that authorized these coins to be made, the Morgan silver dollar. And they made lots of these, and it was very political because the Nevada lobby wanted free silver. And that wasn't necessarily free silver, but they knew that they could get the mines working, and if they made a lot of these coins, that would be good for the mining industry. So this particular coin, they started making in 1878 in pretty large numbers. And they minted this thing all the way until 1904. And then they stopped. And they minted a lot of them. But in 1918, Pittman, the Senator Pittman from Nevada, came up with a scheme that the United States could melt down a large portion of these, maybe 270 million. That was about half of that. I think they had minted about 500 million of these, like 500 million of them, and to send the melted down silver to India, where they had a silver shortage, on behalf of Great Britain, and they would sell that silver at a above market price. Obviously, if there's a silver shortage and the U.S. has all this silver and these coins, they melt them down and they ship them in to I don't know if they shipped them directly to India or if they shipped them to England first. Doesn't matter for our purposes of discussion. And part of that arrangement was that Pittman State would get to mine more silver and replace every last one of the 270 million Morgan silver dollars that had been melted down. So by 1921, they started minting the Morgan silver dollars again. And they minted a fair number of them. They minted about, let me see if I have the numbers here. Yeah, about 44, 54, 64, 70, about 85 million of them. But also in the same year as the Morgan silver dollar, let me just show you the back of those if you haven't seen this coin. There's the back of the Morgan silver dollar. A very interesting coin. Below the eagle where it says $1, in between the O and the D and the herald there is where they used to put the mint mark, and they minted them in Carson City, which would have a CC, New Orleans, which would have an O, San Francisco, which would have an S, and then also Philadelphia, but they didn't put a P there, and also in Denver. Now, in 1921, after minting about 85 million of those Morgan, they introduced what's called the peace dollar. And there is your peace dollar. And you say, what does that have to do with peace? That is a liberty dollar. But in 1921, they issued not that many. They issued only 1 million of these, and they were in what's called high relief. I've seen these coins in coin shops. They don't look much different than the ones that were minted afterwards, but they have a premium on them. They're worth like $100 each, and the other coins are worth like $20, even less. You can get them for, but they're a little broader, more deep. It's the same design. It's just a little higher off the coin. That's why it's called the high relief. Now, from 1922 to 1928, they minted a lot of these things. And then they stopped in 1928, and they started making them again in 1934, 35, and 36. And when they hit the number that they needed under the Pittman Act, they stopped. Now, why is this called a peace dollar? Before we go to why it's a peace dollar, this coin was designed by, I'm not sure if he was an Italian immigrant or if he was of Italian descent, but his name was Anthony De Franceschi, and he designed this in part based on a profile of his wife. And you can see his monogram there. It's hard to see. It's at the bottom of his neck there. And this coin was actually minted in 1964, which is very interesting. We're going to get to that. But none of them exist, but it was minted. That was the last year they minted silver, dimes, quarters, and half dollars. They also minted this coin in Denver, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Now, why do they call it the peace dollar? Well, the year it was issued was 1921. It was really to commemorate the end of World War I, which ended in 1919. So this is the idea of the peace dollar. Now you could see at the foot or the crag where the eagle is standing, it says peace. It's not very prominent, and I was able to get a picture of it with I have one of these, and I was able to take a picture of it and manage to highlight the peace that is written below the eagle there. All right, let's see now. So, because of Kennedy's wish to remove silver from the monetary system, he wanted to get rid of those silver certificates. He wanted to take the money or the silver that was sitting around backing those silver certificates, throw them in the hopper for coins, and just gradually remove the silver certificates from circulation. And eventually what they did, even though he said they were useful for coins, Johnson went one step further and said, no, they're not even useful for that, and took the silver out of the coins. But it was all part of an overall plan to just totally demonetize silver. Now remember, the U.S. is still on the gold standard during this time period, all the way to 1971. When I say the gold standard, I mean the Bretton Woods dollar standard, whereby foreign central banks that were signatories to the Bretton Woods Agreement could come and get their gold in exchange for the dollars that they may have accumulated. All right, now let me just make. Oh, I see. You are not seeing. I apologize. You are not seeing all of the coins that I'm showing because I have. Yeah, let me just show you what we've missed. Deeply apologize. I have two windows open for this. It's a big mistake here. You guys haven't seen the coins I'm trying to show you. So, but I'm going to go back now and show you the things that we missed. Okay. So I was talking about the Morgan dollar. That is the Morgan dollar that was set out in accordance with the doesn't look like it's. What are you guys seeing? I don't see. It's very strange. Can somebody tell me what coin is showing on your screen? You see the travel mug. You see the there it is. Okay, so now you're going to see the Morgan silver dollar. Thank you. Okay, that's the Morgan silver dollar. I'm just going to make sure I'm on the right screen. The Morgan silver dollar was introduced in accordance with the Bland-Allison Act in 1878. Okay, and that was as a concession to demonetizing in the crime of 1873, when the Democrats lost totally and took out the silver from the monetary system. Now, I wanted to show you. I opened up by talking about what a subscriber had sent to me, and they were these U.S. notes and silver certificates. There they are. That's what came in the mail. Those are the U.S. note at the top, the Red Seal note. They are not Federal Reserve notes. And then below that is an example of a silver certificate. Okay, then we talked about the Morgan, the back of the Morgan dollar, and there they are. And I was telling you how they were minted in Denver, Carson City, New Orleans, and that's where you would see the mint mark underneath. We also talked about the trade dollar that was issued from 1873 when they demonetized silver to 1885. That was solely for external use, foreign use. And I had mentioned up until 1857, doing this all on memory here, no notes on this show, these pieces of 8. And these were foreign coins, but they were so respected for their fineness and their silver content, they actually circulated as legal tender in the U.S. until 1857. And then, of course, we've had the massive amounts of silver dollars minted, and they were the Morgan dollars that were minted between 1878 and 1904. And then in 1921, we mentioned they started minting them again, pursuant to the Pittman Act of 1918, after they melted down half of them, about 270 million of them. And that's when they introduced the peace dollar, and there's the first full year of issue when it wasn't. The 1921 was really a Morgan silver dollar year. 84 million of those minted, only 1 million of the 1921 peace dollar, and that was in that high relief form. And here is the 1922 version, And as I mentioned, it's called the peace dollar because, well, the picture on the front is a artist renditioning of the designer's wife, Italian woman, and on the back is where it says peace. And we mentioned it says peace because World War I had just ended, and that was the purpose of this coin, and they minted this coin all the way through 1935, and then when they were done with the Pittman Act requirements, they stopped making them. Okay, now let's get back to the let me just make sure we're seeing the same things here. You guys are still only seeing the 1886 Morgan, it looks like. It doesn't look like you've seen anything else. This isn't good. What are you looking at right now? You should be seeing a peace dollar. If you're still seeing an 1886 Morgan, what I'll say is tomorrow I'll put up all of the pictures on the website, smaulgld.com, and you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to stop trying to put up pictures. It doesn't seem to be working here. All right, so let's get into the what happened with Kennedy and the silver certificates and the U.S. notes and so on. So there's this theory that Kennedy was killed by the Fed because he wanted to issue U.S. notes. He wanted to take away the debt-based currency. He had no such interest. What his main goal was to demonetize silver. He was concerned, or his economic advisors were concerned, that silver is an important industrial metal and they were going to run short on it. It was only good for coins. There was no reason to have their currency backed by silver. That was the rationale. It's not traitorous or anything. I don't hold Kennedy in a bad light for wanting to do that. Now, taking the money out of the coins, that was part and parcel of it too. Because they realized then all of it could go to industry and they wouldn't have to put it into coins. And that's when they came up with those clad coins. But Kennedy, this wasn't just a whim that he came up with in 1963. Back in 1961, he was quoted as saying, "I direct the Treasury to stop using the silver stockpile as a source for coin making." He said, henceforth, silver needed to be, for the mints, withdrawn from the monetary silver reserves, with equal amount of silver certificates pulled out of circulation at the same time. So as the monetary silver that they had stockpiled was drawn down to make coins, instead of taking it from the coin stockpile, they would pull those silver certificates out of circulation and replace them with Federal Reserve notes. So the idea that Kennedy somehow ran afoul of the Fed makes no sense. But then what people say, well, wait a minute, wait, Lewis, you don't know what you're talking about, because I know and I've seen them, the red notes, the U.S. notes, they're not debt-backed, and they were issued by the government, and John Kennedy issued them, and that was the challenge to the Fed. Wrongo star. Sounds nice. Those are those red seal notes. They say United States notes. They don't say Federal Reserve notes. So why was Kennedy issuing these? Well, there was a statute, also back in 1878, that required 346 million of such notes to always be in circulation. And that meant that every few years, under every administration, there had to be authorized a issuance of the Red Seal United States notes. These notes were not issued in accordance with any executive order. These notes were nothing. They were not a Kennedy invention. They were called U.S. notes. They were issued by an act of Congress in 1878 and required to be issued. And while Kennedy was president, he had to issue them. And also, the act that required these notes to be kept in circulation wasn't discontinued into 1994 via the Regal Improvement Act that relieved the Treasury of the requirement of issuing these notes. Now, but people say, what? But they stopped making them after Kennedy. No, they didn't. Johnson, in 1966, issued a series of $100 U.S. notes. Now, by then, the reason that Johnson issued the $100 notes makes sense was they knew they wanted to get rid of them, and this was a requirement under the Act, so it's a lot easier to print up the requisite dollar amount in $100 notes than it is to make the $5 and $10 and $20 notes. So I wish I could show you the picture of the ones I received in the mail. I think you did see those. So they stopped making the U.S. notes. It had nothing to do with Kennedy issuing some type of challenge. Had nothing to do with wanting to get away from debt-based notes. Kennedy had no such pretensions. He wasn't a hard money guy. He actually worked to demonetize silver, to eliminate the silver certificate by drawing down the silver reserve, the silver monetary reserves, and then subsequently, or coinciding with that drawdown, removing silver certificates from circulation. The idea of the U.S. note, it's a red seal note, it's a red herring, has nothing to do with the two. He had to issue those anyway, just to keep in compliance with the statute. And again, he didn't invent them. They were around before, they were around after, and they finally got rid of them officially in 1994. Let's see if there's anything else on this. So we know why we got a peace dollar. We know about the red seal note. We know about the silver certificates. Let's see if you guys have any questions or comments. And again, tomorrow on the website, you should be able to follow along. I'll put all the pictures up, and you can listen to the video, listen or hear the YouTube while looking on the Smaulgld channel and seeing the pictures. Now, if you're interested in purchasing these coins, the Morgan silver dollars or the peace dollars, I've left links below, and from SD Bullion and Golden Eagle Coins. Now, Golden Eagle Coins caters more towards numismatics, so you can get from Golden Eagle Coin different years. You can purchase them by grade, you can purchase them by year, whereas on SD Bullion, they'll sell you a range of coins. So they'll say peace dollars from 1921 to 1935, this condition, and that's it. You don't get to pick the date, you don't get to pick the year. They probably have slightly better prices, but if you're a collector, you can get these coins from Golden Eagle Coin or SD Bullion. These are affiliate links. If you do buy, it's not investment advice to buy. But if you are interested in buying them and you do buy through those links, you pay no more, no less than if you visit those sites directly, and Smaulgld gets a small commission. So it does help the site out when you make your purchases. We only pump mugs on this channel. We don't have YouTube ads, and we only survive on donations and purchases through the affiliate links. So check out smaulgld.com where all the links are. Mug sales, if you're interested in mugs, they're all there on smaulgld.com and below this YouTube. Let's see what you guys are saying about peace dollars, silver certificates in JFK. Remember, if you want your comment called out, you need to put Smaulgld, SMAULGLD. If you want to ask a question or you want to make a comment and you want me to comment on it, please do that. So I'm just going to scroll through the comments and see if there's anything of interest there that I'll call out, but it hasn't been specifically called out. So, Johnny on the spot, selling his position of silver and buying Bitcoin. And is buying Ethereum. So much for Saturday night silver with Smaulgld. Johnny put it into Litecoin. All right, let's see. We got anything? Chicago Electric Bicycle is here tonight. DB Stupid is driving. Well, that's good. Well, then you didn't miss all the wonderful pictures that I had prepared for tonight because you were driving. Okay, Philip Quinn is here. Let's see, you guys are chatting. And it's talking about the Magical Crypto Conference. Chicago Electric Bicycle. I got a few Morgan silver dollars. You know, the thing I found out about Morgan silver dollars, there's so many of them in great condition because they didn't get circulated much, and they found them from time to time in large amounts in bags in the U.S. Mint, and then they sold them off. So they're very good. A lot of them are in very good condition. You can buy one that looks brand new on Golden Eagle Coin probably for $35. And the more popular years, or the more years where they minted more of them, like 1921, a brand new, brilliant uncirculated Morgan silver dollar won't set you back much at all. And then you can get them, they're basically bullion coins. They're a little bit more premium than the dimes, quarters, and half dollars. But with silver at $14, $15, you can get one for like the one I got there. I got paid $18 for it. They're nice to have. They've got in them. Let me tell you how much silver is in them. If you're interested, it's the same problem you have with dimes, quarters, and half dollars. There's not a round number amount of silver in these coins. They're so in the Morgan and the piece dollar, they're 90% silver, 10% copper. But pure silver, they have 0.77344 ounces. So over 3/4 of an ounce of silver. Makes it hard to know when you have 2 or 3 of them how much silver you have. You don't have 3 ounces. You have 0.7734 times 3, and you got to do the math. And sometimes it's not easy off the cuff, but right now they're worth about $18 each. All right, what else do we have here? Okay, Scotty O is here, 1886. He's letting me know. Thank you, Scotty. And John Cooper for telling me that you're looking at an 1886 mortgage. It's too bad you didn't see the other pictures, but in fact, you'll see. It looks like, is that picture blurry? Because the picture I'm showing on my OBS it's a beautiful picture. It's very nice. The picture I'm seeing on YouTube looks really ratty looking. Can't see the note. Yeah, that's too bad. And Guardian is telling me he's only seen the 86 Morgan. Coins AZ is here. Fiona Whale and Philip. I missed our tiny group of reasonable people. It is a tiny group. It's a good group. Chuck and Plata. Would like to see PMs going up like Bitcoin. Will it last? Well, you know my views, and I'll break it is Saturday Night Silver, and I'm not going to talk about cryptocurrencies other than what I've been saying for the last 18 months. It appears to me Wall Street's behind this. They know they can pump it, and I think the pumping has begun. They don't seem to be as interested in gold and silver. In fact, those who follow gold and silver, the biggest complaint they will tell you is that they hack at it every chance they get. They don't let it get past $13.50 on the gold side. Silver just seems to be permanently toyed with. And I actually see, this is not a value judgment, and it's not investment advice. It just seems like they can gin up a lot more interest in digital assets than they can gold and silver, and they don't seem to have any real interest in ginning up gold or silver. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Coins AZ says it was Russian collusion with Kennedy. Yes. All right. Fiona and what else do we have? John Cooper have an 1884 MS64 CC Morgan from the GSA hoard. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. Those hoards, those hoards were just sitting around. So that coin, it looks brand new, and it's from 1884. Where's Barry? Says he's got an 1881 CC Morgan MS66. Now, MS66, for those who don't know what these terms mean, that means mint state. And 66 is almost, I think 70 is perfect. And they generally, coins of this age, you're not going to get a 70. 66 is about as close as you're going to get. 64 is uncirculated, mint state. So if you have those coins, I don't know how much they are. They probably, unless they're a rare date, you can get these coins in the slabs brand new looking. Or you can even get them without the slab and without the rating for a reasonable price, $30, $40, $50. It's interesting to see a coin that old looking so sharp. And again, you can find them at the links below if you're interested in purchasing them. Peace dollars, Morgan dollars. And it's also amazing is that they did melt half of the Morgan dollars. And they replaced them with peace dollars. So at one point, had they not done that melt, well, maybe they never would have made the peace dollars. So that was the arrangement, that they were going to melt them so they can make more of them. And remember, all of that caused a silver shortage in the 20s because all the new silver that was mined went to minting the silver dollars. And they didn't have enough for the dimes, quarters, half dollars. And that's what led to the silver confiscation of 1934. Again, go to the Smaulgld YouTube channel. Check out the playlist and go to History of Silver. You can find that YouTube there as well. Ann says we need a crypto night. All right. I I generally do Monday through Friday the news. But if you want to have just we do Friday, we could do Friday night crypto. We do Saturday night silver with Smaulgld. Tomorrow night we're gonna do solid gold Sunday with Smaulgld. Maybe we do Friday as Crypto Friday with Smaulgld, and we'll cover a little more than just the news, maybe some discussion, and people can add their stuff in. All right, add their comments. John Cooper, 1884 CCMS 64 is like 265. Yeah, well, I guess the 1884. First of all, CCs are always going to be more expensive. Carson City. Now, why were they minting in Carson City? Well, because it was in Nevada, and I guess they didn't have to move the silver very far. But also, Carson City coins were not heavily minted. I'm looking at the numbers now. So that 1884 MS, that was only 1.1 million made. In a good year of a Morgan, just a basic year, like we'll just flip through here and see 1886 in New Orleans, 1886 in Philadelphia, meant like 20 and 10 million, so like 30 million in non-CCs. But then 1885 CC, only 228,000. So I guess they had a small operation in Carson City. So I guess if you get a Carson City mint state that high up, you're going to pay $265. But you can get a very common dated one. I'm looking at 1883. You can get a mint state MS60, MS63, $50, $70, something like that. Yeah, this is the difference between collecting for numismatic or just trying to have something that looks nice that's old. The latter is hobby. It's got nothing to do with investment. There are people who collect this kind of stuff, and they will know they're not going to buy anything like that. They want to buy the rarest and the best condition coins there are, not just good looking coins. But that's just how that market works, and you really have to know what you're doing if you're going to be a numismatic collector. Garden of Light, 1882 to 1884 CCs are relatively common. Yeah, well, let's see, 1882 CC. Well, you're right about relative. You're still only talking about 1 million or so each year. They're still going to cost you 3 times what maybe 4 times in normal condition what a regular minted but Philadelphia or New Orleans coin would cost. But as you go up the scale, then the better condition those coins are in, because there's so few of them, they're made 10, 20 times fewer, then it's harder to find good examples of them in the mint states. So interesting coins. Also, it's even easier to get good condition coins in the peace dollar, because they made a lot of those, and no one really collects the peace dollar the way they collect the Morgan dollars, so you're not going to get the same premium on them. And they made even more of those in a given year. So in 1922, they made 51 million in Philadelphia, 15 million in Denver, and 17 million in San Francisco. They're not rare at all. But again, if you go up to the mint states, they're going to cost you. But still, you can get a 1922, which is the 1922 Philadelphia, 51 million. That's your best chance of getting the best looking coin for the lowest price. That doesn't mean it's a good investment. It just means if that's what you want to have, is a good looking coin at the lowest price, you buy the one that's the least rare, and you're more likely to get a better looking version than one where there's only 1 million of them, and therefore there's only a few thousand in the perfect or near perfect condition. All right. Where's Barry says 1881, I think it was under 200 minted, 1881. You're talking about the CCs. And yeah, 296,000. See, that one they say will run you almost $1,000 to get top condition. But even just a normal beat up one will cost you a few $100s. Yeah, I guess you guys are out there, you collect the Morgans. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me tonight. And don't forget to go to smaulgld.com. Go there now and check out. There's charts from all the prior YouTubes that we've done. But tomorrow I'll put up all of the videos or pictures from tonight's discussion. Thank you very much for joining me, and don't forget to get your Smaulgld Mugs. Have a good night.